Hey, what's goody, Frye Gang? Now I know what you may be saying. You might be thinking, hey, wait a minute, what the hell? Didn't you quit? Didn't you give your YouTube channel to Prez? What are you doing here? I'm so glad to see you back. I missed you so much. Please come back. And to that, I have to say, well, you see what had happened was, anyway, one thing that I have been wondering about, and especially today that kind of just popped into my head, that we haven't really ever gotten an answer on, but it has been a big part of the Splatoon series, at least for the lore. This has been a really big part of it, and no one's really ever talked about it, but that is the fax machine. What the hell is up with the fax machine that you know, tells us which Splatfests are happening next? So how it works, like, okay, according to Incopedia, the fax machine receives messages from a transmitter on a Voyager-like spacecraft located around 6,000 light years away from Earth, which are signals from the current world that are bounced back in the form of questions, and prints them out on paper. These messages are misinterpreted as divine messages and are honored through Splatfests. So keep that divine word in the back of your mind. But this, we don't really know why this happens. We just randomly get these messages from 6,000 light years away from Earth. We get the signals like bounce back from that spacecraft into the fax machine, and then the fax machine prints out the Splatfests. Why does it only print out Splatfests and not anything else? And given that if they are signals coming from a spacecraft out in space, why are we not getting like any relevant or important information on like maybe the status? I almost said status. What the hell? Status of the spacecraft, like the integrity of it, like how it's keeping up, or like information from space, you know, viewing Earth, or literally anything else. Why do we only get stuff about Splatfests? And even then, notice how it did say that these messages are interpreted as divine messages and are honored through Splatfests. And not only that, but this fax machine is typically regarded as the voice from on high. So you can kind of already see the connections here, and you may know what I'm about to say next, but I believe that the fax machine is actually an allegory for religion, and it kind of mirrors that in multiple ways. First, you know, the Inklings, they just randomly get these messages in like these fax from this fax machine and like printing out the Splatfests. And like, they don't know why it happens. Hell, we don't even really know why it happens. Of all things, why is this random ass fax machine, like, first of all, how is it even connected to the spacecraft? 6,000 light years away. That is an unimaginable large distance. Not only that, I don't think fax machines can use internet, do they? No, I don't think the internet was around when fax machines were made. Wait, yes they were, because fucking computers. I'm so fucking dumb. What is happening? Maybe I really should have stayed quitted. Whatever. But yeah, I don't think a fax machine would be strong enough to connect to a spacecraft 6,000 light years away from Earth, okay? I don't think y'all realize how fucking far that is. The closest star to Earth, other than the sun, like the second closest star, I'm pretty sure is like 2 light years away, or 200. I don't know, 200. All I know, I completely forgot. I can't believe I forgot. I'm like such a huge astronomy and like science nerd, and I forgot this most basic information. All I know is that it's a lot less than 6,000 light years. So that is even further than the next closest star to us. There's no way this fax machine is connecting to this goddamn spacecraft from that far away. Some random old ass 12,000-year-old fax machine. How is it still functional? How is it still functional? Anyway, back to what I was saying. I think this is an allegory for religion, because the Inklings and Octolings, I guess, don't know where this comes from, like these faxes, where they come from, why they happen. They just happen randomly, so they believe it's like some divine thing from on high. So they kind of see this fax machine as a god, I guess, or at least kind of like the facilitation of a god, and they just blindly worship this fax machine, and like whatever the Splatfest says, like whatever Splatfest come out of it, that's what they participate in. And we already know that Splatfest basically dictate the laws of Splatoon. Like Chaos versus Order, Team Chaos won, so it was like wrote into law that Chaos would be like a prominent theme now, at least in Splatsville. But this kind of mirrors real life, and some people may get upset by what I'm about to say, but I mean, it's true. People will like blindly believe religion without really questioning it, and that's not necessarily a good thing. And the issue is, at least with like Christianity, that kind of like fear, like instill fear into you to blindly worship and not question things, that kind of like force you to just not question anything about the religion and just blindly follow it, like the fear of God and all that and everything. Like there are a lot of odd things about Christianity, and just a lot of off-putting things, a lot of like contradictions, and like no religion is perfect, obviously, and I'm just using Christianity as an example, as that's the most popular religion in the United States and the one I'm most familiar with. But there are a lot of, I guess, plot holes, for lack of a better term, in Christianity, and people like growing up are taught to not question that, and to just blindly worship this religion and the God that runs the religion. Basically, don't question anything, fear God, and all this, everything is kind of like centered around God. And one thing that always got me, I know I don't want to turn this into like a religious video, but one thing I never really understood is, if God is supposed to be like all loving and all forgiving, then why fear him? Why would you be scared of somebody that's not going to hurt you in any way? That never really made a whole lot of sense to me. And kind of going off that, a lot of churches are just very corrupt and just greedy. Like they just like hoard money and like scam and exploit people out of their money, which is very, very ironic, since greed is one of the 7 capital sins. So like it's very contradictory, because there are a lot of churches and pastors that are just very money hungry and just scamming people out of their fucking money. I don't know, but I feel like the fax machine is an allegory of religion, because like, for all they know, they can't explain why these fax like copies are happening, like spit out the Splatfest. They don't know why this fax machine is doing this. They don't even really know what the hell a fax machine is. For all they know, they just happened upon this fax machine one day and it just started spitting out Splatfest. They have no explanation for it, so they blindly worship it, maybe out of fear, maybe out of lack of knowledge and confusion. It's very similar to religion in real life. So I think that's pretty cool, but we never really got an explanation on this fax machine, or really any lore about it. It's been 3 games and we still don't really know anything about it. They haven't really touched on it in any way. The only thing we have on it is there is this sunken scroll about it that has this kind of like philosophical message along with it, which kind of lends to the like religious allegory belief. It reads, "Why are we here? For what purpose do we exist? We must not dwell on these questions. We can merely trust in the will of the universe and spend our days and nights in harmony with the world, celebrating this festival called life," which again is very similar to religion. Like I said, it says we can merely trust in the will of the universe and spend our days and nights in harmony with the world. So like they're not even going to question it, even though they started to question it. They kind of realize that they shouldn't be doing that, because like I said again, we must not dwell on these questions. So it's like, even though this shit doesn't make any sense, let's completely disregard that and just worship and trust the process. Basically just trust the process, trust the universe, and worship this fax machine. So there are positives and negatives to just religion in general, but that's not what I wanted to talk about here. It's more so of like, what the hell is up with the fax machine in the first place? How come we don't really have any information on it? But I highly doubt the future games like Splatoon 4 or anything are going to expand upon the fax machine. It just would have been nice to get a little bit of lore, a couple more sunken skulls, or really anything, maybe in the art books, just literally anything to kind of explain the fax machine more. But then again, I might be thinking too deep into it and it doesn't need explaining, because it's just a fucking fax machine. What is there to explain? And technically we kind of already got an explanation on what's up with the fax machine, because it's receiving messages from the spacecraft out in Earth, and like the signals are just coming back to the fax machine and being printed out as Splatfest. But then again, there's right there, that something can be explained. That begs the question, why is this fax machine getting signals from the spacecraft? Why this one particular fax machine? And if humans were so advanced that they're able to build the underground domes like Alterna and these spaceships, why the hell are they relaying information through a damn fax machine? That doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. So like, there has to be something special about this fax machine. Why are they still using a fax machine in the era of space travel? That seems very outdated and just not very effective. But hey, what do I know? Anyway, yeah, that's about it. See you next mission and play some goddamn Splatty.